Champ, Richard Jefferson, that's you. And then NBA champ and finals MVP. That's definitely not you, Richard. That is Paul Pierce. Welcome, friends. Coming up, we're going to discuss Brooklyn signing Blake Griffin and whether that starts an all-out arms race at the top of the Eastern Conference. What is next for all the contenders in the East? We'll discuss that later. First, though, we are honored to be announcing the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2021, the finalists. The entire class of 2021, including those selected by the direct elect committees, will be unveiled on May 16th. So we have the finalists here. And the first finalist for the class of 2021 is the man sitting 2 seats over from me.
I'm in there.
Paul Truth Pierce.
I'm in there.
Congratulations, Paul. We didn't tell you this was happening today. What is going through your mind here? What would it mean to you to be inducted?
I mean, to be enshrined into, I don't know what to do with my hands right now. Into the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's the end game for all, end all, be all. And for a basketball player to have their name, even having my names in the Raptors of Boston, I thought was enough. But then to get into the Hall of Fame, if I was to get in there, that's just the end of the storybook. And it's forever. And I'm greatly honored just to be mentioned, to have that opportunity. Because, when you come into the game, because when you come into the game, you work as hard as you can, and then at the end of your career, you see what the results are. And clearly, I've worked hard enough to be in this position.
I'm from a person that has guarded him since my rookie year, throughout his entire career. Yeah, he was a Hall of Famer years and years ago. This is, in my opinion, is just a formality, right? It's like, and you can see guys nowadays, you're in the Hall of Fame, but it is still a formality. And just playing against him, watching him, do what he did. Again, as great as he was, and, I hate giving this man compliments, as great as he was in the regular season, he made his name in the postseason. And it wasn't all just championship or bust. He made his name from some of his performances in the postseason, in the Garden, and so this is well-deserved.
And the clutch play, Paul, right? I mean, the fact that when the game was on the line, you were the one everyone went to, and you could deliver.
Yeah, the thing about, and all the kids who are put in this position, you can't be afraid of the moment. You can't be afraid to fail. There was times, because I've missed more game winners than I've made, but there was times when I missed, and the thing I would tell my teammates, I'll make the next one. And I showed that confidence, because if you don't believe in yourself, they won't either.
Well, it has led you to the doorstep of the Hall of Fame. You are a finalist. Congratulations. And right now, we are going to surprise another finalist from the Hall of Fame class of 2021. I don't know if you can hear the phone ringing. We're trying to see if he will pick up the phone.
He doesn't like us. He doesn't like us. I'm going to be really honest. There's a lot of, between the two of us.
Look,
there's some
Hello, Chris Bosh.
Is that RJ?
I have been a little sneaky with your wife the past day or so, trying to arrange finding you at this time, because I wanted to tell you are a finalist for the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame Class 2021.
Hey.
Congratulations,
man.
Hold on.
You can't hear nothing.
Chris, you are a finalist for the Hall of Fame. How does that feel?
I can't hear anything.
See if your wife Adrienne can tell you.
Sure, they'll come in.
It'll come in a little bit.
It'll come in. Oh.
Well, let me take this time to say this.
Chris, let us know when you can hear us.
When Chris can hear me go on this rant, the fact that Chris was not a first ballot Hall of Famer, to me, is one of the more randomly frustrating things, because I understand Tim Duncan, I understand all of the guys, Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett, that class, I understand that, and Chris had something unforeseen happen to him, but it doesn't change the fact of his numbers and what he accomplished. And in my opinion, I'm so glad he's here right now, but I also want to give some recognition for the fact that he should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I love that. Chris,
yes,
I don't know
sir.
if you can hear us. Can you hear us yet?
Yeah, I can hear you. Absolutely.
Well, you just heard Richard say what we all have said for the past year. You should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. We understand all the circumstances, but this is so deserved. How does it feel to be a finalist for this year's class?
Words can't really describe. I didn't even know what was going on today. I was just kind of going about my regular day. And I'm actually speechless. This doesn't happen much, but I'm so appreciative. Everything that I've tried to give to the game of basketball and everything that basketball has done for me. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, having my career, I still wanted to be playing to this day. But, everything doesn't happen the way we want them to, but we have to make do with what we have. And I'm just so appreciative and so thankful just for the opportunity to play the game and all those who helped me get here.
It is amazing when you think back at your career, all the twists and turns, and that it could end here at the Hall of Fame. Now, Paul Pierce, you played a lot of very big games against Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
What was it like to play against Chris?
Hey, Chris, I'll tell you, I'll never forget that three you made in the corner in the conference finals. That's still that three. He know what I'm talking about, too. That clutch three he hit. I'll never forget that. So, a hell of a player. I've seen him from Toronto all the way to Miami. He's expanded his game. He's always been a great all-around player. Played both ends of the court. And I never really thought he got his due on that team because he was one of the more clutch players for that ball club when you look back. And, rightfully deserved a Hall of Fame induction. I'm happy to be in that class with you also, too.
I pay attention to what the guys on the team say, right? And when you have LeBron James and Dwayne Wade saying, we don't win anything without Chris Bosh.
Listen, he was injured in that series. He comes back to hit dagger threes versus us. I thought we were going back to the finals. I'm like, why does this guy have to come back now? Jeez, goodness gracious.
Chris,
Hey, man, I was just trying to get one, Paul. You know what I'm saying? I was just trying to get one, dog.
But Rachel, to Paul's point is like as much as you talk about D Wade and you talk about LeBron James and what he did in Miami, people forget how much you carried that team and how much you were a focal point, and especially in Toronto when you were a transition player from the Vince Carter era moving on, and then you just took that team on your back. You were an all-NBA player and you led that team to multiple postseasons. So I know everyone talks about the Miami, but I played against you in the postseason in Toronto and you were a force then. So I just want to make sure that those Toronto years get its due respect also.
Absolutely.
One of the things I loved, Chris, about covering you is your relationship with basketball. You always had so many interests outside and off the court, but that never got in the way of your love of hooping, and especially when the game started to get taken away from you, at first briefly and then for good. You talked a lot about what the game of basketball has meant to you in your life and your career. As you now look back and you are on the doorstep of the Hall of Fame, how much do you think about that?
I think about it every day. I pretty much have been reflecting on my career since I stopped playing. But, really with that said, I remember all of the bus rides, all of the OGs when you're a young guy at the time, you always think that you're going to play forever, or at least until 40 years old or something crazy like that. But I think back on those times, it's all about those great moments playing in front of the fans in Toronto and Miami and really all over the league, having those moments of truth and coming through, kind of like you guys said, just coming through in the clutch. That's all I ever wanted to do. I put my heart and soul into the game, and I still do. It's just as a player, you want things to happen in a particular way, and I couldn't have written it any better, but it ended up being such a great career, and I'm so happy that I was able to squeeze in so many accomplishments so quick. I thought I had more time, but, just remembering all the friends that I made, remembering the teamwork, the camaraderie, the communication, all of the, putting in the work night in and night out. That's what it was always about. I just always wanted to come through. I wanted to be a great player. I wanted to be an exemplary role model on the court for the kids and for my peers. And I just always wanted to be a leader. I always dreamt of playing basketball when I was a kid. A lot of people, kind of like you were saying, Rachel, with hobbies and stuff. I had plenty of hobbies, but nothing was ever like basketball. I put everything into it. That's all I ever wanted to do since the moment I knew what it was. So to be just considered for such a great honor, I mean, it's amazing.
Well, we are so happy for you. Congratulations. Could not be more deserved. And please thank your lovely wife, Adrienne, who helped us concoct this little secret. Anyone who thinks this was staged, our technical problems at the beginning would show you it is not. It was so fun to surprise you today, Chris. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'm going to send you guys a copy of my book June 1st.
Oh, as long as it's autographed. As long as it's autographed.
There we go.
Come on. Hey, for you, RJ, anything.
Yeah, that's my guy. CD. There we go. There we go.
Thank you so much, Chris. I want to get to some of our other first-time finalists for the Hoop Hall class of 2021. In addition to Paul Pierce and Chris Bosh, former Kings coach Rick Adelman, five-time champion Michael Cooper, and Bill Russell, who is, of course, already in the Hall as a player.
He should have been in the Hall of Fame for
Wait,
coaching.
hold on.
That's what I said.
He's back on the ballot as a head coach.
He should have been there.
Won a
So we are going to
championship.
discuss that more in depth later in the show. Villanova coach Jay Wright, also a first-time finalist, along with seven-time WNBA All-Star Yolanda Griffith, three-time WNBA Most Valuable Player Lauren Jackson,
She in.
and NCAA National Champion WNBA Coach of the Year Marianne Stanley. Congratulations to all of the first-time nominees. And now we've got some previous finalists who are included again this year for consideration. The all-time winningest high school coach, Lita Andrews. Congratulations on being a finalist. Five-time NBA All-Star Tim Hardaway Sr. I now got to add that in, being a finalist. Consensus National College Player of the Year, Marquez Johnson. Four-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, Big Ben Wallace, and five-time NBA All-Star Chris Webber. Shout out C. Webb. The class of 2021 will be unveiled on May 16th.
I'm trying to figure out what you got to do to get in the Hall of Fame. Four-time defensive
By the way,
player.
these guys are all, and you and Chris are all finalists. They're going to narrow that class down, right?
What else you got to do?
Don't ask me. Don't look over here at me. That's
Don't look at our side of the table.
Oh, look at the kids.
I love your kids. Come on. I want to see the whole family. Come on.
Oh, look at that. That's what it's about, dude.
Yeah.
We got twins, too.
Come on. Your dad is a finalist for the Hall of Fame.
They don't care. They don't care.
Amazing. That's the thing about all your kids, right?
Yeah.
They don't care whatever you guys did. They just want to know, did you bring me cookies? I do want to take a deeper look at a few of the notable returning finalists on the ballot. You heard me just mention Tim Hardaway. Richard, let's make the case for Tim to make it to the Hoop Hall.
Well, look,
And we've got a comp there with someone who is already in the Hall. That's how we're going to do this.
Well, yeah, and look, I understand that Tim Hardaway, like, he struggled with knee stuff later on in his career, but anybody that watched the game of basketball from the late 80s through the early 2000s, they understand his impact. His killer crossover was one of the signature moves in the NBA. You had the fadeaway, you had the killer crossover, you had the dream shake. He was so clutch. And if you're talking about clutch, Tim Hardaway is one of the most clutch players that we've had in our game.
This guy could play in any era.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he shot the ball, his strength, his ball handling, and like you said, that crossover, man.
Step,
Come
two
on.
step,
You
baby.
can't tell me one kid in our era that didn't go practice that in the playground.
Didn't have it.
Every single day.
I tried to do it, and I was just like, no, I got to go straight.
I mean,
We had Tim on the show earlier, just a few months ago, and he was talking about how he invented that, which was so cool. We wish him the best of luck. Next up, Paul, I want you to make the case for why Chris Webber should be in the Hall of Fame.
I don't understand. I'm trying to figure out what you got to do now, because a guy who's a 20-10 guy, most of his whole career, he was a dominant force in the league. And at some point in his career, he was probably labeled the best power forward in the game. And we're talking about forwards in the game like Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Sean Kemp.
And look, you're showing his Michigan highlights. Understand, people, this is the Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA. So if you look at what he accomplished with 2 Final Fours, the Fab Five is a transcendent term. You know the Fab Five because Chris Webber, because of Jalen Rose, because of all of those guys. So if you look at his basketball career, from high school, college to the NBA, he's a Hall of Famer, without a doubt.
I totally agree.
All right, Richard, now I want you to make the case for Ben Wallace.
I can't stand I can't stand the Pistons, and that's all I'm going to say. I can't stand the Pistons. No, and I say that as a compliment. I say that as a compliment. Ben Wallace and the Detroit Pistons were one of the most annoying teams that you would ever have to play in any era. They were great defensively. They were disciplined offensively. They had clutch guys, and it was just their camaraderie and their 5-on-5 game was probably one or two. Them and the Spurs were the best 5-on-5 team that I've ever played against.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a historic defensive team anchored by Ben Wallace.
Yes.
I mean, they went a stretch, and I don't know if people noticed that they held, I think, maybe 19 or 20 straight opponents under 80 points.
Yes.
That's unheard of. that defensive effort is unheard of, and the man who anchored it a four-time defensive player of the year is not in yet. That's I don't know what.
Ben, it's coming. The time is coming, Ben,
what you
man.
gotta
It's
do,
well
man.
deserved, too.
It's tough.
We will have much more reaction to the Hall of Fame class of 2021 finalists
All the
and
kids.
a preview. Yay! They're the Bosch kids. Congratulations to Chris Bosch and his beautiful family.
They just want to get closer.
We will preview the class of Jefferson.
There we
He's a
go.
lovely man.
Perfect. That's not funny.
Lovely.
Not that funny.
I want to get some comments from a former teammate of Paul's that led to some backlash from James Harden. Three-time All-Star, NBA champ Antoine Walker said this on the All Things Covered podcast, quote, I am not a James Harden guy, and it's not personal, but you can't win with that style. Anytime a guy takes 6, 7, 8 dribbles to get to where he has to go, that's a problem. It works today because it's more of a pick and roll league, so he gets away with a lot of things now. But I would not leverage my future for James Harden. End quote. Take a listen to Harden's response.
There's pick and rolls that happen in basketball. There's isolations that happen in basketball. And I do both, so I don't really understand what that means. I just, stuff like that I don't even pay attention to, especially somebody that has no credibility.
Oh,
Well, first of all,
chime in.
Antoine Walker does have credibility. I mean, you saw before, he's a 3-time All-Star. This is my thing. What kind of credentials do you have to have as a former player to criticize a current player? I mean, or just not even criticize, but just state your opinion. I mean, you don't have to be an MVP. You don't have to have 5 or 6 rings. I mean, this is just your opinion. And I think Antoine's right about some of the things he said. That version of James Harden with the dribbles that he played in Houston could not win a championship. But this version that we're seeing now in New Jersey, in Brooklyn, this is the version of James Harden that can win a championship, because you don't see the isolations where he's dribbling the air out of the ball, he's moving the ball, he's finding his teammates, he's picking his spots on when he needs to score. But this version of Harden, I think, can win a championship. But the version that was in Houston, Antoine was right, I believe, because Antoine played that same style of basketball.
Yeah.
Trust me, I played with him.
And he knows.
And so, he definitely has credibility to what he's saying, and he's entitled to his opinion.
Yeah, he is. And I think everybody said what they were supposed to say. There were just 2 little remarks, right? One, excuse me, James Harden, the way he played. Excuse me.
Oh, you didn't know I could dunk like that? You didn't know I could dunk like that? Look.
you know if you cough or sneeze in this studio, you are required to go quarantine for 2 weeks.
What's going on right there?
Dying.
Hey, man, what's going on?
That's it. That's
What's
it.
going on? No, it's just
You killing me, dog. You killing me.
God, I'm like eyes watering.
You killing me.
Okay, so back to what I was trying to say before I started sweating. You shouldn't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. That's my biggest thing. And so if he's not somebody that you would take advice from, then you just kind of move on from that. Because everyone's going to criticize James Harden. He's been criticized a million times.
You are actually crying and sweating right now.
Yes, I'm telling you. Like I had it, and then I tried.
Is this topic of conversation that upsetting for you?
It is bothering me so much. I
sweating,
feel
dog.
for
What
James
is
Harden.
going on?
Yes, once I started coughing. Is this TV still? Are we still on TV?
We are still
Yeah.
on live national television.
Oh, that's great.
I'm enjoying this.
No,
This is fantastic.
I do respect what Antoine said, and I played against Antoine in the postseason.
Please
and
show Paul on TV. please.
Paul,
Thank you.
it's gone, Paul. You got Bane over here. He's all upset.
I will note for the viewers at home, we are further apart from each other than we look. We got a new desk today, which is pretty awesome, by the way. But it's curved now. We used to be straight. So we are still about 7 or 8 feet apart. And
I got my COVID test yesterday. We're fine.
Richard is having an actual physical breakdown. Coming up on the show, I can't even continue this conversation. You both said fine things. We'll leave it at that. We will reveal more finalists for the 2021 Hall of Fame class. Bill Russell, already in as a player, but inducted as a player in 1975, and he could join Lenny Wilkens, Tommy Heinsohn, Bill Sharman, John Wooden, among inductees who are both a player and a coach. Jackie, what significance do you see of Russell being nominated as a coach, not just for his work as a coach, but what that means?
Well, you've hit on it, Rachel. So people will say, Bill Russell, he wasn't a coach that long. It was only 8 seasons, 3 of it as a player coach for the Celtics. But But here's what people have to remember. Bill Russell was the first African-American coach in NBA history. It happened in the 60s. Bill won his first championship as a player coach in 1968, less than a month after Martin Luther King was assassinated. You can't express enough the cultural importance of having that first black coach and have him win a championship in just his second year doing that. And by the way, as a player coach. So this isn't about longevity or his career winning percentage as an NBA coach. None of that matters. What matters is the standard he set and the example he set for all the players before him, and of course all the players that are playing now and the players that follow him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2 championships as a player and a coach. that's unheard of. I mean, he stepped right into it. Wasn't because he was a black man. It's because he was capable of doing it. And he went on and showed everybody that he could be one of not only a successful player, but a successful coach and managing his team and really setting the standard during those times. I'm shocked, actually, that he isn't already in as a coach. I mean, you win as a player coach. I mean, what coach can go out there and play today?
Not a lot.
Well, there was a point where they pulled all the Raptors coaches for contact tracing, right? And everybody wanted Kyle Lowry to be the player coach, and even that didn't happen. So I don't know.
Coach, you can say, "All right, go ahead. I'm gonna start tonight, y'all. I'm gonna go out here and jump ball, and we're gonna win it all. We're gonna win it all."
There's player coach, but there's 5 other coaches also. There's no hey, you're out of the game. You missed the box out. Yeah, I got you. But no, I think this is right on time. To Paul's point where he says, why did this take so long? And Jackie, what you said about how he won the championship right after Martin Luther King was assassinated. And you have to understand that those were messages being sent to our community. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, you saw these things happen. These were messages that were sent to our community. So to have a message that an African-American man can not only just be a head coach, but also lead people from multiple different backgrounds to a championship, I think that was such a beautiful message. And the fact that the Celtics gave him the opportunity because it was earned and it was deserved. And he went out there and proved that African-American men could be championship level coaches and did it multiple times. So I think this is long overdue. And they say, give your roses while you are alive. Well, Bill Russell is walking around. Let's give the man his roses.
I think about that phrase, leader of men, right? That suits him to a T. Jackie, while we have you looking at the other nominees, who jumped out to you about who was selected as a finalist?
I was really, really happy to see 2 names on that list in particular, Ben Wallace and Michael Cooper, 2 guys that I covered extensively. Their career averages, Michael Cooper averaged 8.9 points a game, never made an all-star team. Ben Wallace averaged 5.7 points a game. The reason I bring this up is they were both exceptional defensive players who led their teams to championship. In Michael Cooper's case, multiple championships. Larry Bird told me many times that Cooper was the toughest guy he ever had guard him. The reason Cooper wasn't an all-star? Simple. He played with Kareem, and Irving Magic Johnson, and James Worthy. That's why he was never an all-star. Both of these guys, in my opinion, deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. It's a two-way game. Can I just say also, there's one name that I can't leave off. Paul, I am so thrilled for you.
Oh, thank you.
Literally. I watched it from the very beginning. I mean, I was there the first day, your first week of the NBA season when you were calling out Michael Olowokandi, Rachel Prince, and all the guys that got drafted ahead of you.
Yeah.
Right up to the day you cradled that trophy on the parquet floor in 2008. So obviously well-desered. And I'd be remiss to not tell you, I feel like I've been on that journey with you. So I'm very pleased that
it was a rough road, but we got there.
We didn't.
It just matters that you get through it. All right. The class of 2020, I want to remind everyone, still hasn't even officially been inducted, of course, because of the pandemic. But here's a quick reminder of who they are. And we got some names here, friends.
Man, do we got some
Kobe,
names here.
Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Tamika Catchings, Rudy Tomjanovich, Eddie Sutton, and more. Take a look.
With the 5th pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant.
Off to Kobe Bryant! And it for 2 and a foul! James drives, blocked by Duncan!
Tamika and I are old school. We get grinding.
Here's a block shot. It was blocked by Catchings. Man, what a finish by Tim Duncan. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
Iconic, baby.
Iconic.
Take a look at these names. Paul, this is your era of basketball. Teammates, rivals. What does this Hall of Fame 2020 class mean to you?
I'm going to tell you this. It don't get no better than this.
Nope.
I mean, you talk about GOAT after GOAT after GOAT after GOAT. I mean, have you ever seen a class this brilliant? I mean, Tamika Catchings, she could probably still get buckets. I followed her in college, and we all know about Duncan and Kevin, and Kobe. I mean, Kevin went, listen, we played the McDonald's game, and everybody was wondering, where's Kevin going to college? Everybody, I was going to Kansas, Marbury's going to Georgia Tech. And then Kevin was like, I'm going to the league. And I was like, you could do that?
Yeah, you can do that?
You can do that?
That's
Look like that, you can.
No, that is not
He
it.
just set the trend for
Yeah,
the
it's like you can do that. It's like, yeah, when you're 6'11" and you got bounce and you got all the skills. I think the Tamika Catchings, for me, watching her, play and watching how she dominated. And then I just had a conversation with Elena Deladon, and she was saying the hardest person that she ever had to play against was Tamika Catchings. And you're sitting here watching the greats today pay homage to the people that came before them. And so she said Tamika Catchings was the first person that made her have to go lift weights, have to go do extra work. And you're talking about a future MVP.
Yeah.
So Tamika Catchings, what she did in her career and the impact that she had is still being felt today. That's why it's like when you see Tamika and you hear the other players in the WNBA talk about her, you know that she belongs on that list right next to all of the other greats from the NBA.
Yeah, Tamika Catchings was money, and I wish her career had come a little later because you'd be hearing about her all the time, as you do with today's stars. Just like the old NBA players, the old college women's players, there just wasn't enough attention paid to them, so people can't appreciate how stupendous they truly were. I think what's different about this class, Rachel, it's probably one of the smaller Hall of Fame classes you'll ever see. But to Paul's point, those three, probably the greatest class ever. And I think it was smart of the Hall, honestly, to keep it small for two reasons. One, to give those three guys, and of course, the tragic death of Kobe just highlights this even more so, to give those three guys their due, but also maybe, the smaller class so someone comes on the next year and get their due without being overshadowed by those three great Hall of Famers that we all, have watched.
Well, it will be quite the enshrinement ceremony. That's coming up in May. And I got to tell you, I'm still so happy sitting here for Paul. We cannot wait.
Get a ticket to that one.
We cannot wait until the actual Hall of Famers for next year are announced as well. Thank you so much, Jackie, for.
Now it's time for the 70th NBA All-Star Game.
All of my dogs, all to the death. Yeah, I win it all, money to power, and the respect. Yeah.
What's the deal with these point guards?
Throw me my check, yo. One of the best, running it up. Coming for record, I come at your neck, yo.
Team LeBron with the victory. They win all 4 quarters.
Milwaukee, this is for you.
Weekend Encore is brought to you by McDonald's.
That was really good sound from Giannis. We'll talk more about Giannis. Kenny's going to talk with Mark Spears after I give you this retreat. Look at that. Cool Papa Bell. Giannis and his boy.
Okay, so it's you and LeBron, obviously, and then Steph, Luka, and Jokic.
That's a starting 5?
Yes.
Yeah, it's over, guys. Me, LeBron, Luka, Jokic, and Steph?
Yes.
Man, that's a good starting 5. That's a good starting 5.
That's the moment he found out while slamming the chicken wings, which I love. And sure enough, Giannis knew what he was talking about. Led Team LeBron early, perfect in the first quarter. 11 points on 5 of 5 shooting. Look at that. He's tall. Took that from Chris Paul. And they weren't all dunks. Most of them were dunks, but there were 3 free attempts mixed in there, and he made them all. 11 for 11 in the first half. Your boy Hal Greer was 8 for 8 in the 68 All-Star game. first All-Star game was 1951 in Boston.
I did not know that.
70 years later, here we are in Atlanta. This is a bank shot three. Don't know if he tried that. We'll see. Mark Spear is going to talk about that shot and more as Giannis and Team LeBron are winners.
Mark Spears on board now to talk about the defensive intensity of this. No, we're not going to talk about that. Talk about Giannis and his absurd 16 for 16 MVP night. How did he explain himself after that?
Well, as you mentioned, this isn't like a defensive fist fight, an all-star game, but 16 for 16 is pretty incredible. It's the greatest performance in terms of a perfect game in an NBA all-star game for somebody that had a minimum of 10 attempts. Said he just got it in the flow of the game, but he did make this one three-point.
And not a lot of time. Basically, teams playing every other night, a lot of back-to-back for teams. The health of the Nets with Kevin Durant and the health of the Lakers with Anthony Davis, both of those guys were supposed to be out here playing tonight, not available due to injury. Both teams are telling us publicly that they held KD and AD out at precautionary reasons, no reason to push things. How concerned are you about those two players as we move ahead to the second half?
I think Jared always concerned about players' health, especially guys if you can see like a Kevin Durant is coming off an injury. But I would say between the two, I'm more concerned about Anthony Davis for the Lakers, and not because of individually his injury is worse than Kevin Durant. The Brooklyn Nets have two scorers that can flat out carry a team by themselves, let alone the two of them. I think the Lakers is a good basketball team, but I think it puts so much pressure on LeBron James without Anthony Davis, where they are looking where they have to pick up somebody to help LeBron, because you don't want to wear him down. You play him too much. Yeah, you win games, but you wear him down. You don't play him, you may struggle, and you start to look at the standings right now. They were in 1, they're in 2. They have slid all the way down to, I think, the 3rd or 4th spot, where you don't want to slide no more than 5, 6, or 7. Yes, they're the Lakers. Once they can get in and they can win even from the 8th spot, but I am looking at the Lakers saying, hopefully AD get back quickly, and hopefully they can add some guys. And there's a lot of guys that's out there that look at. I mean, there's Drummond, there's JaVale McGee, maybe talks are coming back. Kevin Love, PJ Tucker. So I think there will be major players and picking up guys that have been bought out or trade.
Last stop, looking ahead to the second half. This is going to be one heck of an MVP race. There's easily at least 6, maybe 8, maybe 9 or 10 guys who are legitimately in the MVP conversation right now. And every week, the list kind of grows and changes. I think a lot of people have Embiid coming into All-Star Weekend with LeBron right there. But you mentioned the way Harden's been playing for the Nets, and Lillard and Steph. You obviously got Jokic and any of the guys from Utah with Donovan Mitchell. Is he going to emerge? Who's your leader right now for MVP, and who do you think it'll be at the end of the season?
What's so great is you always look at the team that's winning, but right now, from the East or the West, a 3 or 4 game win streak right now, a 3 or 4 game loss streak for some other teams puts anybody that's even in 7th in a case and maybe up to 1st. So for me, it's all those guys, and then you throw in Giannis the way he's playing. Could he win it again? But the guy that I have, Jared, that I